You can do everything right and still build the wrong life. You can be disciplined and still end up nowhere. You can work harder than everyone around you and still feel empty. And when that happens, the problem is not your effort, it's your aim. Imagine running as fast as you can. Your lungs burn, your legs shake, your heart is pounding. You're giving it everything, but no one told you. You're running in the wrong direction. At the end of the day, you're not successful. You're just exhausted and far away from where you wanted to be. That's exactly where most people are. They don't lack motivation. They lack clarity. But clarity is dangerous because clarity forces you to admit that some of your effort was wasted, and that's painful. So instead, people cling to discipline. They wake up earlier. They push harder. They try to optimize a life. That doesn't make sense in the first place. They confuse control with progress. And the worst part? The world praises them for it. You're so hardworking. You're so consistent. You're so disciplined. No one asks if you're happy. No one asks if it's working. No one asks where this road actually leads. So you keep going. Because stopping feels like failure. But stopping isn't failure. Stopping is courage. Because the moment you stop doing everything, you finally have the space to see what you're actually doing. And most people are terrified of that moment. They're terrified to realize that their life is full, but not meaningful. That they're exhausted, but not fulfilled. That they're productive, but not progressing. So they distract themselves. More goals, more habits, more routines, more noise. Until one day they wake up and realize they never chose this life. They just kept going because everyone told them. This is what success looks like. And that realization is devastating because it means you didn't lose because you quit. You lost because you didn't question. And here's the sentence that changes everything. Hard work doesn't save you. Correct direction does. But no one teaches you how to choose direction. They teach you how to obey, how to follow systems, how to fit into paths that already exist. So you work hard to maintain a life that was designed for someone else. And every time you feel empty, you blame yourself. Instead of questioning the structure, instead of questioning the rules, instead of questioning the game itself. And that's where the real trap is. Because the most dangerous people are not the lazy ones. They're the ones who never stop trying. At some point, you stopped measuring your life by results. And you didn't even notice when it happened. You started measuring it by effort. By how tired you are. By how full your schedule is. By how much you sacrificed today. And that shift is subtle, but deadly. Because effort feels more. Effort feels clean. Effort feels like proof that you're a good person. Even when nothing changes. So when someone asks you how life is going, you say, I'm trying. I'm working on myself. I'm doing my best. And technically, you're telling the truth. But effort without outcome is just motion. And motion is not progress. Progress is direction plus movement. And most people only have one. They're moving, constantly, relentlessly, but they have no idea where they're going. So they cling to what feels productive. Habits, morning routines, daily checklists, motivational videos, quotes that hit hard for 5 minutes. All of it creates the same illusion that something important is happening. But look closely. How many of the things you do every day actually change your position in life? Not your mood, not your mindset, not your temporary sense of home. Your position. Most people avoid that question because the answer is uncomfortable. So instead, they drown themselves in self-improvement. Self-improvement has become the most socially acceptable form of stagnation. It looks like growth. It sounds intelligent. It feels responsible. But most of it is consumption. You watch. You listen. You nod. You save the video. You promise yourself you'll apply it later. Later never comes. Because self-improvement content is designed to make you feel better, not to force you to change. It gives you language, not leverage. You learn words like discipline, mindset, consistency, purpose, and you confuse vocabulary with transformation. You feel smart, aware, evolved, but your life stays the same. That's why so many people feel exhausted, but unchanged. They are mentally busy, not structurally different. They've upgraded their thoughts, but not their actions. And even worse, not their direction. Because direction is scary. Direction forces commitment. And commitment means you have to let go of other possibilities. So instead, people stay open to ideas, open to options, open to dreams, but closed to decisions. Because decisions close doors, and closing doors means You can't pretend everything is still possible. So you stay in preparation mode, always getting ready, never arriving. You tell yourself, I just need to be more disciplined. If I fix my habits, everything will follow. But habits don't create direction. They only amplify it. If your direction is wrong, discipline will just get you there faster. That's the part no one tells you. Discipline is not salvation. It's acceleration. It makes the good better, and the wrong irreversible. That's why some of the most disciplined people are also the most miserable. They did everything right. They followed the rules. They stayed consistent, and they still feel empty because they optimized their life. That never made sense to them. They became efficient at the wrong thing, and efficiency is dangerous when the destination is wrong. You see this everywhere. People climbing ladders that are leaning against the wrong wall. People chasing goals they never consciously chose. People sacrificing years for futures they don't even want. But they keep going because stopping would mean admitting the truth that all this effort didn't lead where they thought it would. And that's a painful realization. So instead, they double down. More effort, more pressure, more self-doubt. I just need to try harder. I'm not doing it. I must be missing something. And the world agrees with me. Because society loves that. It rewards obedience. It praises grind. It celebrates sacrifice. But it never asks the most important question. Is this actually working? Is your life expanding? Or just getting heavier? Because there's a difference between growth and accumulation. Growth simplifies. Accumulation exhausts. Growth creates clarity. Accumulation creates noise. Most people are not growing. They are accumulating. More responsibilities, more expectations, more pressure, until their life feels full, but hollow, and deep down, they feel it. That quiet dissatisfaction. They can't explain it, but sense that something is off, even when everything looks fine. So they look for motivation. They look for inspiration. They look for something external to push them forward. But motivation doesn't solve this alone. It only masks it. It's like drinking caffeine. When you're sleep deprived, it gives you energy, but not recovery. Eventually, the crash comes. Burnout, emptiness, resentment, and you wonder how you ended up here. When you did everything right, you didn't do everything wrong. You just never stopped to ask if the game you're playing is worth winning. Because the most dangerous question is not how do I succeed? It's why am I doing this at all? That question threatens everything. Your identity, your routines, your plans. It forces you to confront the possibility that some of your effort was never meant to pay off. And that's terrifying. So people avoid it. They stay busy. They stay distracted. They stay tired. Because tired feels productive. Tired feels justified. But tired is not proof of purpose. It's proof of directionless effort. And until you confront that, no amount of motivation will save you. At some point, your hard work stopped being about building a better life. And quietly, it became about protecting your identity. You don't work this hard. If I stop, who am I without all this effort? Because effort gives you a role. The struggler, the fighter, the disciplined, the one who never quits. And that role feels safe. As long as you're trying, you don't have to face the possibility that you chose the wrong thing. So you claim to struggle, like it's proof of worth. You tell yourself, at least I'm not lazy. At least I'm doing something. At least I'm trying. And that at least becomes a prison. Because deep down, you're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of stopping and realizing you don't know what you actually want. That's the psychological trap. You confuse pain with meaning. You confuse effort with value. You confuse exhaustion with purpose. Because sitting still would force honesty, and honesty would force loss. Loss of time you can't get back. Loss of paths you invested in. Loss of an identity you built around suffering. So instead, you stay busy. Busy keeps the questions quiet. Busy numbs the discomfort. Busy gives you a reason to not look too closely. And that's why so many people are secretly addicted to struggle. Struggle makes them feel alive. Struggle gives their life a story. Without it, they feel empty. But here's the truth. No one prepares you for it. Struggle is not a personality, and pain is not a purpose. Sometimes you're not ambitious. You're just afraid to choose. Because choosing means committing. And committing means risking being wrong. So you keep everything halfway. Half dreams, half goals, half lives. Enough effort to feel busy. Not enough clarity to move. And years pass like that. Quietly. Until one day, the exhaustion changes It's existential. You wake up and realize you don't feel excited, or scared, or hopeful. You just feel tired. Not because you worked hard yesterday, but because you've been carrying a life that doesn't fit you. And here's the part that hurts the most. No one forced you. You chose this. By never choosing at all. By following paths that were available, not aligned. By chasing goals that sounded right, not felt right. By working hard, so you wouldn't have to admit you were lost. But this is where the story can change. Not with more effort, not with more discipline, not with more pressure, but with one brutal act of honesty. You stop asking, how do I fix myself? And you start asking, what am I building and why? Because the problem was never that you weren't doing enough. The problem is that you were doing too much without knowing where it leads. And once you see that, everything changes. You don't need to destroy your life. You don't need to start over. You just need to remove the noise. Strip away everything you do out of fear, out of guilt, out of obligation, out of habit, and keep only what moves you toward a life you would actually choose. If no one was watching, that clarity will feel uncomfortable at first, because it removes excuses, it removes hiding places, it removes the comfort of busyness, but it also removes the constant exhaustion, because for the first time, your effort has direction, and effort with direction feels lighter, quieter, cleaner. You stop proving, you stop performing, you stop trying to earn your worth. You simply build, and that's when hard work finally becomes meaningful, not because it hurts, but because it leads somewhere. So if you're tired, not just physically, but spiritually, if you've been working hard, and nothing feels different, if you feel like you're always prepared, but never arriving, hear this clearly. You are not broken, you are not lazy, you are not behind, you are just focused on the wrong things. And the moment you stop running blindly and choose direction over effort, your life will finally start to move. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. And this time, for real.